A red food dye could soon be banned here in the U.S. The food coloring is already not allowed in other countries due to health risks. It's known as Red Dye number 3. Today, I'm joined by Kimberly Baker. She's a food safety expert with Clemson University. Thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here with you.
And this is a very popular topic this time of year because you're making so many goods that could have food dye in them, and you're eating candy. I know me myself, I was making sugar cookies and I decided not to put food dye in them because I am a little bit worried. So let's talk about what is red dye number 3 and why can it pose a health risk?
So red dye number 3 is a color additive that has been approved by the FDA. It is from petroleum, so that's where it comes from. So that means that it's synthetic. So it is man-made and is not natural. It was approved very early on in the color additive time frame when they were looking at color additives in cosmetics and foods as well. So we've had it around in the food system for really quite a long time. But changes have come through FDA in terms of regulation of our color additives. And for the time being, FDA has considered that red dye number 3 is safe in small amounts in our foods. So that's why it's still considered to be listed, although there is definitely that petition to remove it from our food system.
Yeah, it's actually been banned in Europe, the UK, Australia, and most of Asia. So what risks could it pose? I know we're still looking at some of the data, but what are some of the concerns?
So one of the top concerns that a lot of the research studies have shown are, is it cancerous? Is it a carcinogen? And there is a clause called the Delaney Clause with food additives that as soon as it is considered to be a carcinogen, that it be removed from that food additive list. So the FDA has said that it is approved in the small amounts in foods. It's not a carcinogen, but it has been removed from medications, supplements, and from cosmetics because of it being a carcinogen. So that's one of the real concerns. The other concern that there's a lot of research coming out about is how it may be linked to behavior or ADHD in children.
Yeah, I've actually heard anecdotally people say that their children will have something like a cupcake with the dye in it, and then they act a little off the rest of the day. Now, we don't know if that's because of the sugar. It's processed food. There could be a lot of things involved there, but it is interesting to hear anecdotally what has been going on for some parents. So what is the process like to ban this dye?
So what is happening here currently with red dye number 3 in particular is that a lot of states are beginning to ban the dye in foods. So that puts a lot of pressure on FDA, which then, because it's banned in the states, that relates to the manufacturers and not being able to sell their goods in the different states. So then it kind of works its way up through the system to finally where FDA will say, okay, we're going to go ahead and ban the dye itself.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Kimberly, for joining us today, filling us in on what red dye number 3 is. I know it's not the only one out there. There's a lot of other food dyes. So we'll be curious to see what happens. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.